You know where you are!
This is Appetite for Distortion.
Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion. My name is Brando, episode number 425. Welcome to the podcast, Justin Smolian of Dirty Honey. How are you, sir?
Great, man. Thanks for having me on here.
No problem. We'll see if your bandmates, John, pops in. But as you said, these guitar players, you never know.
Never know. You never know what they did the night beforehand. You might be sleeping.
So, Justin, if you don't know, bassist from Dirty Honey, one of the founding members of this really cool rock band that's been around for a few years, but still making waves, people finding out about them. New album coming out, Can't Find the Brakes, November 3rd. How long did that take to make? And I just listened to it, and I just got to say, congratulations, man. It's phenomenal.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we put a lot of hard work into that. We were in the studio for about a month in Byron Bay, Australia, working on it, tweaking it. And we did about 3 weeks of prep or whatever at John's house before that in LA. Kind of getting all the demos together. But yeah, it was really a magical experience for us this time. And really having the extra time in the studio really paid off for us. Because usually we were pretty rushed going to the studio. We made the last record in like 6 or 7 days. So having the time to like go back and reflect on the tunes and tweak them, I think really made a big difference.
Right on. And you know what? Before I jumped too quick into it, because while it's fresh into my mind, the new album, let's set the scene though. Because if you're not watching on YouTube, you may hear some sounds. If you're listening on iHeartRadio, what's going on? Where in the world is Justin? And I appreciate you giving me time because you're on the road and you're in Texas. Where in Texas are you currently?
I'm in Houston, Texas right now. We were in Dallas last night. There's actually crazy construction going on here at the venue, so that's why I'm not in the green room. Stage is right over there, so probably hear crew guys walking by, slamming stuff in person.
I love it. That's rock and roll, bro. I love that. You know, that's what it's all about. So, and I don't know if am I taking away from your rock star lifestyle? You know, do you have stuff going on backstage?
You're helping create it, man.
Yeah.
Or for people like you, people who know about us, and I can do what I do.
Well, let's get into that because I'm grateful that I know of Dirty Honey. I've had your singer Mark LaBelle on 3 times. Super nice guy. Not just talking rock and roll, but being into hockey. We're talking hockey, so we bonded. Can you talk about the beginnings of Dirty Honey? Because I'm not making this up. I did not put this entry into Wikipedia because obviously you're on Appetite for Distortion and Guns N' Roses themed podcast. So I did not write this though. After moving to Los Angeles in an attempt to duplicate the success of Guns N' Roses, guitarist John Nato met vocalist Mark LaBelle, and then you come in. So I did not write that, just so everybody knows. So I guess take us to the beginnings of.
I didn't write that either. So,
but take us like to the beginnings, and
well,
it was John who found you, right?
Yeah. I guess I could just tell you my journey. John knew Mark, and I think I met John probably close to around the same time. And they had a band called Ground Zero that mostly did covers and had like 1 or 2 originals. And then I met John separately at a jam session. And we kind of started this other band with a drummer. And it was just kind of instrumental. And we did that for about a year. We were writing music and we kept looking for a singer. And eventually, like the guys in Ground Zero weren't really working out. So first we got the drummer in, then he brought me in. We started writing songs. That drummer left over this crazy incident about he thought Mark stole his keyboard. It was really stupid. The guy was out of his mind, but an amazing drummer. And then I'd known Jaden. Well, first, I guess I brought Corey in because Corey and I met in the LA scene doing random gigs. And I've been playing with John and Mark for a couple of years, also mostly doing covers. and we were just always rotating drummers in and out. And I called Corey one night because our normal guy had bailed on the gig, and he came in and he really just killed it and stood up on the drums that night and was like, I want to be in the band. Kind of once Corey joined, it really took off pretty fast. And obviously Corey left at the end of last year, and I called Jaden, who is literally one of my best friends in the world and used to live with John and I. We did some other projects together, and he actually played on some of the early Dirty Honey demos, like right before Corey joined the band. He probably would have been the drummer, but he got like a big touring gig and took off right before we really had anything going. So when Corey left, there weren't auditions or anything. I just called Jaden. We were in England 2 weeks later.
Jaden Bean, the drummer.
Jaden Bean.
Yeah. Is that his real name, or is it really Bean? Because he was really born to be a rock star. Look at that, Jaden Bean, born to be a rock star. But obviously you were as well. So how did you, when you were little Justin, how did you get into rock and roll? How did you get, because I'm always interested in talking to bassists, because you think, okay, guitar, frontman, the quote unquote sexy positions in the band, but bass is sexy, so how did you become a bassist?
Well, I guess my dad got me a guitar first when I was like 10. I didn't really take to it that well because he had me take a guitar lesson with his friend. He just showed me stuff that was way too complicated. But then a couple years later, when I was probably in like 5th or 6th grade, a bunch of my friends, we were all into like Nirvana and punk rock, and just wanted to start a band. And so my dad took me to the guitar store, and he was like, "You're gonna play bass because you'll always have a gig if you're a bass player." So that's just kind of how I ended up playing bass. And then I really loved Nirvana and the Chili Peppers and all that when I was a kid. And it just I kind of was always working. I played in every band in my high school because I was the only bass player there, and played in the jazz band. I also started playing guitar again when I was 13, and then I went and studied classical guitar in college. But yeah, man, I was always playing. I always had an original band. Like being in an original rock band has always been my dream. So to have this actually come true, I still pinch myself sometimes.
I love that, and wow, your dad's how smart, because like I said, everyone wants to be the guitarist, everyone wants to be, but the bass is the backbone. That's what's needed, and look at the path that it's brought you on, and it's cool because as I was listening to the record, I'm lucky where when I interview somebody, I get a sneak preview, so I can't find the breaks. What I like about it, because it is uniquely Dirty Honey. However, there are a lot of artists that went through my mind as I'm listening to it. So I'm just curious your thoughts. I mean, the obvious, you don't have to go there. I mean, Aerosmith. Mark literally wore on this podcast an Aerosmith sweatshirt once.
Band of
Yeah, it's one of my favorites too. Of course, there's Aerosmith. There's the Black Crowes, who you're touring with now. There's a similar, vibe to it. But what really stuck out to me, and I'm curious your reaction, if Aretha Franklin was like a little blonde white boy and started a rock and roll band, I'm getting Aretha Franklin vibes from some songs. I'm getting Joe Cocker vibes from other songs. I'm getting Zeppelin-ish vibes, but still making it Dirty Honey. So, any of these, am I out of left field with the Aretha here, or is that?
No, that's actually one of the best compliments we've gotten, and I love Aretha. Like for Live at the Fillmore record, I'm just obsessed with it. There's a bass player named Jerry Dumont plays on it. I've transcribed a bunch of live Aretha stuff. So
wow.
We love soul music also. We all love funk and R&B, and I love bluegrass music and country music even. Like we have a pretty wide scope of music that we all really love and appreciate it, and we kind of wanted to showcase that on this record. That's why there's such a wider variety of songs, because we could play so many styles of music that we really wanted to showcase that. But we wanted to do it in a way like Zeppelin did. Like Zeppelin would play a reggae song, or they play a funk song, but it'd still be Led Zeppelin, it'd still be rock.
Right.
So whatever we do, it's still gonna rock. But we wanted to show off the other elements of our personalities or our musical styles and tastes on this record.
that was totally the vibe that I got, and that's what I like in my bands. I mean, spoiler alert, that's what I like Guns N' Roses and Use Your Illusions
Yeah,
and the variety
that's
of
my
it.
that's my favorite band, by the way.
Perfect,
God, so
perfect.
I'm
So
stoked to come.
we'll get to that. Like I gotta always do my yes, it's a GNR podcast, but I always try to do right by the guest and promote them and talk about them, whatever they need, and that's how I can do over 400 episodes of Guns N' Roses talk. Because if it was just all GNR, I'd lose my mind. But I am curious more about the record and the different sounds. Uh, one that's really stuck out to me was a ballad. I guess maybe because November Rain's my favorite song, so maybe that's why ballads stick out to me. And literally called, I guess in parentheses,
Yeah,
Ballad of Shire, Coming Home. Um, is that one of
yeah,
your favorites off the album? And what are if not that, what are some of your favorites off the record?
yeah. That's definitely one of my favorites. I mean, that's personal to me because I wrote that song, um,
Look at
and
that.
I
I
wrote
didn't
that
even
like
know
on the
that.
bus in the middle of. Yeah, I
Sorry,
wrote
I
that.
get
I mean,
excited.
Mark wrote
Yeah.
the lyrics. Yeah, it was in the middle of our tour with Wolfgang Van Halen last year, and we were co-headlining. So like that means like whoever's headlining that night gets a big dressing room or whatever, and we were not headlining that night, and we were at like Ohio or somewhere. There's no place to hang out backstage. Mark had actually taken the keys to the hotel room that we were all sharing, so I was just like stuck on the bus, and I was kind of miserable, and I missed my girl, and I just wanted to go home, and like the music just came out of me in like 10 minutes. Um, so that one's very personal to me because it really, I told Mark when he wrote the lyrics that I want this song to be about like longing and like being on the road too long and wanting to go home and missing people. And he really nailed it with the lyrics when he wrote them in Australia. Um, so that's a personal standout for me. I love Don't Put Out the Fire. Um, just a different tempo for us and a little bit more groovy. And that's kind of been like a fan favorite live this tour. Um, and then the very last tune on the record called Rebel Sun, um, the last 2 minutes of it is actually just a jam. It's one take, it's live, it's a jam. And it's some of the it's like one of my favorite musical moments on the record because you could hear us all listening to each other and interacting, and it's very fresh. It's not rehearsed. I'm not trying to stick in a. Nobody's trying to play anything flashy, but like the playing on it is really great in my opinion.
That's
So
so
those are
cool.
probably like my three favorite moments on the record.
I mean, and that's a rock and roll record. Just the ride that it takes you on, and that's I think something that is missed. And I'm glad. I'm in a habit now of thinking I'm younger than everybody, but am I older than you? How old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
My 30s, yeah.
I just turned 40. So I like again, I still have the mind of a child apparently. So I always think I'm younger. So I want to say that the younger generation, and not sound too old, is bringing back the style of an album, things that I miss from my childhood. And because it's not just the single, you have the rock and single, but sometimes it's just perfect when you get a rock and single next to a ballad back to back and the way it flows, and you kind of get behind the scenes and into the mind of the band when you were recording it. So it's definitely an experience. And again, it comes out November 3rd, and you can pre-order because you're on the road now, but you're gonna have a massive headlining tour.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. This is
sorry.
this
Did I
this
guess
tour is
interrupt
like,
Tony over there? Did I guess was he
yeah,
laying down bricks?
yeah. He dropped something out his foot now.
Sorry. Just
They're doing the lights right now. I don't know if you. Oh, my hand's in the way. Sorry.
that's
They're setting
cool.
up the stage with the lights and stuff.
Right on.
Our new tour
Because
manager is very annoyed that we've added lights because it's adding hours to his setup.
Perfect. So are you? I guess. Well, before I forget, how has I've been touring with Wolfgang Van Halen. What kind of what kind of bond have you guys? Because I'm lucky enough. He was on the same episode once with Mark, and they were talking about the upcoming tour. So it didn't happen then. So how was that tour and dealing with Mammoth WVH?
It was a weird time. That was like kind of one of the first tours post COVID,
Yeah.
and Wolfie was very I don't know if we were scared of COVID, so we really didn't have much interactions. Like him and the band pretty much stayed on the bus, and went and played the show and went back. Like they weren't even allowed. The band wasn't even allowed to go out to restaurants. They were having to Uber Eats everything. So it's kind of a letdown for us because we were all super excited to hang out with him, and we're all Van Halen fans, so we obviously wanted to like nerd out and pick his brains, and that didn't really get to happen, which is a bummer. But great band. They sounded amazing every night, and the tour was great. We sold out almost every gig, so it was a great tour for us. But yeah, I definitely would have liked to have some more personal interaction with all of them.
Well, you all are early enough in your careers. I think that I don't think that'll be the last time you guys tour together, and I'm sure other opportunities will happen.
No, and I went and saw Metallica at SoFi like a month ago, and they were opening up for him, and I ran into a couple of guys, and we chatted, and they're like, "Oh man, it's so nice to be able to hang out now. This, under these COVID restrictions." And I was like, "Yeah, that would have been rad if it'd been like that the whole tour."
Yeah,
It is what it is.
Oh, no, you're right. And it's crazy to think that it seems like such a long time ago, but it wasn't when we were all like that and needing to be careful. And wow, I'm glad I know we'll never be officially out of the woods. There's always something trying to kill us, but I know we're past that major scare. But let me ask about another band that I don't know if it was maybe around the same time, but you toured with them again recently, and that's Guns N' Roses, your favorite band, my favorite band. So how was that experience? I guess because you had a kind of a pinch yourself moment, just being on the road, being in Dirty Honey. How did you feel when you got the call to open up for Axl Rose and Slash and Duff McKagan and Guns N' Roses?
I mean, it was kind of mind blowing. Like the first time we did it was in 2019, and we opened up for them in Las Vegas. And that was pretty cool, but it was also kind of weird because it was Vegas. It was like Caesar's Palace, which is like a small venue for them. But then 2022, we did like 6 stadium shows with them in Europe. That was my first time playing stadiums, and it was just like, again, another pinch myself moment. And so cool. Gary Clark Jr. was also opening up for them, and we got close with Gary. It was so cool, man. They're such good guys. And then obviously we did another like 6 or 7 with them this summer, and we've gotten a little bit closer with them. Like Slash came up to me and he was like, "Oh, dude, I love Won't Take Me Alive. I can't find the breaks." That's all we put out so far. And just to know that he like heard them and thought they were cool, like honestly, it meant so much to me. And that he knew who I was, like walked over to me and was like, "What's up, dude?" I wasn't just some random dude anymore. And yeah, Mark actually hung out on Axl's bus for like 2 hours. He went down to the San Diego show. We weren't playing with him. He just went to check it out and ended up on Axl's bus drinking like Cristal and tequila with him all night. What is our lives? Like, how did this happen?
Oh, I love that. And that's such an honest moment because that's how I feel sometimes. Even right now, just talking to you, Justin, what is my life? For that, so that to have a fan become in real life, I think that's what life is all about. And I'm glad you were able to have that moment with Slash. And did you compare hair at all? Because you got the Slash going on, maybe a little bit when the younger Slash, when it was a little bit more full. But did he any compliment there?
No, luckily I was looking cool at that moment. I wasn't in my sweats with my hair up or anything.
That's funny.
Yeah. No, actually, randomly, I get my hair cut by the person that did his hair, like in the 80s and 90s. It was like this girl, Lisa Cantor. Mark Cantor, like, was the original photographer.
Yeah.
80s or 90s, and his wife cuts hair. And I just randomly went to her one day, and then it turned out she's like, "Oh yeah, I used to put Slash's hair back in the day." I was like, "So you know how to do my hair then?"
That is amazing because I've had Mark on the show a couple times. I did not know his sister. I mean, I don't know. I never asked what his sister does.
His wife.
Oh, his wife. But
Yeah.
what I usually call, I mean, you have a 6 degrees of Guns N' Roses bacon. You open for them. But if you didn't, the fact that you go to Slash's old hairdresser, I think that's just a funny connection as well to have.
It's cool because she's got all the old stories too, and like she was really close with Axl, and like would tell stories about Axl going down to the hotel bar at 3 a.m. and playing for everybody for 2 hours. It's like you don't hear those stories about Axl as much, or at least in like the mainstream media, and like how much he really did care about the fans and was a good guy, not just crazy guy throwing mics at people or whatever it is that you hear.
That's what I try to do on this podcast is I really don't get bad stories about the guy. We love the fun stories. One of them was from Mark when he came on. I guess before he was sipping Cristal, with him. There was one. He's like, we had a 20-minute conversation, and I didn't want to take too much of his time, so I bowed out. But we were talking about like what you're watching on Netflix, and he's like, "Yeah, I love Peaky Blinders and The Sopranos."
Dude,
And
that's what he was talking about with LaBelle. Actually, he was talking about Peaky Blinders. That's so
that's what
funny.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That was with Mark. Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh,
because I used two Marks in the same. I see how that was confusing. Not Mark
yeah.
Cantor, Mark LaBelle. Forgive me.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, when Mark LaBelle was on, he said that, and I love stories like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also two Marks with a C, by the way. So I really should have clarified that.
There's too many Marks in our life. Our manager's name's Mark. Our radio guy's name's Mark. There's like 10 Marks on our camp. It's driving me insane.
That's too funny. My dad was Mark with the K. So it's
That's
little, thank you. That's the only way to go, I think. This was so fun, Justin. I really appreciate you coming on. And it's, you know what? He missed out. John missed out. Well, you and I got the bond, and that's okay. Well, hopefully next time. But actually, before
you
we
should
go,
come to. I know you're in Queens, but huh?
say that again. I'm sorry, you cut out for a second.
I was saying you should come to our show in Jersey.
In
I was saying I
Jersey,
know you're in Queens, but we're playing Jersey in a couple of weeks. You should come out and have a drink. I'll put you on the list.
I want to go. Our mutual label friend has offered me tickets to go in the past, and I'm always working. And now I have a 6-month-old, but I have a newborn baby. I know you're leaning in closer, so I know I'm
Congratulations,
up
man.
against the construction. Thank you. I guess so. What I want to do, Jersey is far, man, because I saw Metallica and Guns N' Roses over the summer in New Jersey, and I think that's my wife and I are like never again. Just getting out of the stadium, getting out of the city,
Yeah.
it's a nightmare. But I really, because you guys will obviously come back to New York. I mean, it's the
Yeah,
Mecca. So next time you do, I am taking my son, and it's gonna be awesome, like 100%, because we both are obsessed with concerts going. My wife already took him to see Dave Matthews in Seattle for his first concert
Oh, nice.
with of course with the headphones. And I'm jealous of all people who are bringing their babies to go see Guns N' Roses. He was like 2 months at the time to see Metallica and Guns N' Roses. I'm like, I can't be that kind of a. I gotta wait. I can't be a bad dad just because I love this band. And so he will be ready though when Dirty Honey hits New York City.
You got to be a good dad. You're doing the right thing.
Thanks so much. Oh, but before I go, since you're such a Guns N'
That's good.
Roses, I try, but I gotta ask because you specifically said that GNR is your favorite band. Do you have a favorite song or maybe a favorite Guns N' Roses memory? Did you see them when you were younger?
I got a bunch of favorite songs. Night Train's one of my favorite. I love the guitar intro to Get in the Ring. That's actually one of my favorite little guitar lines. I can't think of a story because I actually got to run. I got another interview in 1 minute. I'm sorry,
Okay.
but like literally, there's not a song to me.
Oh,
One of my favorite bands. Like I've literally there's a song called Gypsy that was on our last record, and that was totally inspired by. Oh my god, I'm such being such a bad fan. There's a song that starts with that like hammer on bass part. I totally stole that from Gypsy.
it's so easy. It's so easy.
It's so easy. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's so easy.
All right.
Real fan.
We'll end there, buddy. I know you're up against it. I hope we get to do this again, Justin. Continue success, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks again, man.
You got it. Take care.
News.
As I always say, the conversation continues on social media and to follow us because we kind of have 2 new songs, or one song with 2 parts, or one was supposed to be hidden tracks. Well, let's rewind a little bit if you don't know what I'm talking about. The long-rumored The General was already announced coming out on the Perhaps LP. It was supposed to be shipped out. I mean, I did not order it, but all of you, the awesome AFD show listeners, the Guns N' Roses fans, would show me, and it had a delivery date of October 26th. Obviously, that date has come and gone, and the day of, or maybe just like hours before, it was postponed. People got an email notification from the GNR website that it was going to be delayed until early December. No reason given. Since then, Fernando has responded to somebody on Reddit. Guns N' Roses has put on their social media that there was just something wrong with the vinyl, the sound quality of the vinyl, and they got it to the right sound. Look, I mean, I'm obviously not behind the scenes there. How long did they know that there was an issue? Again, to announce this delay with no reason given at the time, let like a day go by, and there have been repercussions for that day, which we're getting to, for letting that day go by until they said something. It's just what we have here is a failure to communicate kind of thing. And a lot of Guns N' Roses fans were angry because we're already starved for new music and any sort of communication with the band, and people have been excited for months that it's finally going to be delivered, or we're going to get this, and we still aren't sure if they're going to be these songs are just going to be on the LP, if it's going to be a digital release too. That's what I'm holding out for. My apartment is too full of baby toys now. I can't add a record player and start collecting vinyls now at this point in my life. That day has sailed for me. So what you're well aware of, because I was a little late to the game. I'm watching Baby Brownstone, trying to get him to sleep all day. This was on a Friday. My phone starts blowing up with people sending me links to these songs, to The General and Monsters. And that wasn't the first time we heard the name Monsters, but that was only recently that again, I don't know how you Guns N' Roses fans, some people, you are sleuths to the utmost degree, that there was something printed out on sesac.com, which I guess is how you register songs, and it goes The General and Monsters, and it has people who have contributed to the songwriters, and it's just like, I guess, a submission to where you're going to have a song release. I guess that's my bastardization of trying to summarize what that is. So we knew that The General was coming out. Now, is the song called The General and Monsters? Is it 2 songs? We don't know. Well, at least one Guns N' Roses fan, this is my assumption, got real annoyed with the delay, with no answer from the band. And the band had been active on social media, posting about previous and upcoming shows, but with no response. And to show you, I guess, the opposite, I saw in my own timeline somebody say and tweet at Duff McKagan that they did not get they ordered the autographed version of his new solo record, and they did not get it. Duff himself responded and said, we're going to fix that. So, I don't know. I know that's just Duff. It's not Guns N' Roses as a whole. Response could be customer service is different, I guess, if you want to call it that. But still, the lack of customer service, I guess we can call it, or communication. So what I was sent, what many of us were sent, were 2, whether it was on YouTube, whether they were secret links, The General and Monsters. Now, first impressions. I've given both now 4 listens. It did go through my mind that, you know what, maybe I won't listen to these. They're not, as we've discussed in the past about leaks that have happened. When Guns N' Roses, their Chinese Democracy leaks came out, we were ever going to hear that record. So eager. It was in the early days of the internet, as far as song leaks and downloading and Napster and all that. So we look at it differently now, and I don't want my listening experience to be ruined when it's finished. Are these going to be demos? Are these real? I even asked one of the people that sent it to me, is this AI? Is this for real? So, if anything, I always say, unless Axl says it, none of it's real. So, the only thing 100% confirmed is his love of Taco Bell, as he once famously tweeted. So, let's just get into it. And I've been sharing my thoughts, especially on X Twitter. The General is still going to have to grow on me. I think I'm done listening to that until the final version is out. There's something off with the vocals. I know with Axl, when was it recorded? Was it 20 years ago? Was he using some sort of effects? There's a lot going on in the general that it, for me right now, does not live up to the fan-made hype. It's never been really spoken about by the band, and it's just hyped up by us and in forums that, like, oh, the general is going to be this epic thing, and it's epic in a lot of ways. But I think with a lot of Chinese Democracy tracks, I'm going to have to really sit with it. But now, after just giving it a proper swill in my mouth kind of thing, so I can talk about it and be somewhat educated with my feelings on it, and not just being so reactionary and trying to process what I'm listening to, I will wait to hear the general again in its final completed form. Monsters, however, now whether it's the general and Monsters, that this is supposed to be two very different halves of the same song, or again, Monsters might have been a hidden track on the LP. I guess you all will find out when you get it in early December. Monsters, as the kids say, is a banger. From first listen, just a great song that sounds like new Guns N' Roses. Axl's vocals, very signature Slash. I get a lot of Blood Sugar Sex Magic vibes on it. I just love the way it flows. A very dancey kind of feel. It sounds like if this was a song meant for Chinese Democracy, I don't know how it didn't make it. Put it that way. So Monsters is really good, and just by looking at online, just in my own echo chamber of checking Appetite socials, I'm checking Guns N' Roses socials. Many of you seem to share the same view as me. Not all of you. There are ones that say the general sucks. There are ones that love it. I'm gonna let it grow on me more before I really go too far with my feelings on it. But right now, I'm just not feeling it enough to want to listen to it until, again, it's finished. Until I know that's the final version. Then I can be like, okay, here's my real opinion. But Monsters, whatever version is out there now that I've heard, great song. Great song. So, are we going to get more new music Guns N' Roses? Oh, this band, it is just too funny that with the debacle of perhaps leaking to all those bar jukeboxes before it was supposed to be released, now the second time they're going to have a release of songs and it gets bungled again. Look, I see a lot of you blaming Fernando and management. I don't know. We're not behind the scenes. Are they just pairing with people who, that are messing it up for them? Did it really be like, oh, Touch Tunes screwed up? Or did the vinyl place screw up and it's making them look bad? I don't know. So, as Bernie Sanders, in my Bernie Sanders voice, I am once again asking Fernando to come on my podcast. And I'm not going to grill you. It's not my style. I know a lot of fans, a lot of you might be upset to grill him, get all these answers. No. I want to give him a chance to display his personality, and because it's got to be a tough job. He's the manager of one of the biggest bands of all time, and just a lot of moving parts and dealing with Axl Rose and whatever that even means. So I like to give him the benefit of the doubt. I give them the benefit of the doubt because it's just the easy knowing from my position and what sometimes people say on my low level in radio, and people just not really having a clue what goes on behind the scenes. I kind of have that mindset. Like, I have no idea. We can have it seems obvious. This is what happened. It's really not always the case that what may seem obvious to you. There's so many variables that go into things. So I'm not going to blame Team Brazil for this because I don't know. That would just be an easy thing to do and a lazy thing to do. I get the frustration if you do that because there isn't much communication. The occasional, comment on Reddit from Fernando, but that's why I put it out there again. Fernando, Beta, anyone that wants to represent Guns N' Roses, and this is a soft landing spot. It'll be a fun time. So I'm just putting it out there again. Anyway, that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. We'll see if there are any more developments. So again, I always say this, social media. Sometimes it's all quiet on the Shotgun News front. Nothing going on. Then there are days like what we've had with a lot going on. So the AFD show on Facebook, the AFD podcast on X, Twitter, Appetite for Distortion on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Email me at the AFDshow@gmail.com. A lot of ways to stay in contact and to ask questions and to submit questions for future guests, such as who I'm getting, I believe, for the next episode, Mr. John 5. Yeah, I'm excited for John 5. Of course, he is with Motley Crue. He's with Rob Zombie. He's played with Slash a lot of times. So I'm just really looking forward to that. So stay tuned. When will you see that interview? When is the next episode? In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.